It's gonna be
right.
Okay,
yeah. It's getting there. It's just loading now. Okay, what you seeing on your side?
Says meeting is now streaming live.
Ah, good. Good afternoon to everybody out there. First, I give thanks to our Lord Jesus Christ who made everything possible to us. But I want to say thank you. Thank you to all our Facebook viewers. We thank you to all those all over the world who is watching this show, the Father Talk Show, the power of single fatherhood, Kings in a Conversation. It's been a brilliant, amazing day, and I hope you are having a wonderful time. We have got on the Father Talk Show. Wow, I'm thrilled and I'm excited. An amazing guest speaker. I'm not going to say yet. We're going to introduce him, and he's going to tell us, he's going to talk about the power of embracing resilience and the power of hope and faith. You know, sometimes we don't talk about that. And I'm not going to take his time. I want him to share his story, his journey, and it's going to be brilliant. But first, let me, my king, my co-host. I just love it when I say that to him. He laughs. So my co-host, my king, Daniel, how's your day been? Take it away.
Hey Margaret, hey everyone. Yeah, it's been good. It's been my whole week's been very relaxing. I've been doing a few different things, some coaching and some business as well. So yeah, in general, all good, and always as 100% looking forward to the show and actually meeting and getting to know our guest today, Jose Pereira. Yes. So I'm going to do a quick, brief bio of Jose. Fascinating story. So it's a great honor. I want to introduce Jose Pereira, a man whose story is a profound testament to human spirit. Jose's remarkable journey from the depths of captivity back to freedom spanned an unimaginable 1,775 days, a period during which the virtues of resilience, hope, love, and faith were not just words, but the very tools of his survival. So, Jose, I want everyone, here to welcome you to welcome to the Father's Talk Show. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself, and tell me how I don't really know where to begin after that introduction. So, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And my story begins. Let me rewind my story back. I live in Houston. I'm Venezuelan born, but dual citizen, American Venezuelan. And I began a long career in the oil and gas that was during 35 years. And I'm a third generation of oil and gas worker. The people that are not aware, Venezuela back to the 70s or to the 80s was one of the most wealthiest countries of Latin America because it has oil. Today, Venezuela is having a lot of things because there is a regime that has more than 2 decades, a communist regime there. But when I began my career in the 80s, I began working with PDVSA, the national oil company, that at that time was the 5th oil company of the world. So it was a big deal working there. And I did my long career there. And 15 years ago, I was transferred to here to the US, to the US-based company that is Citgo Petroleum. You are in UK, but Citgo is very well known here in the US because it's the 6th largest refinery complex of here in the US. That has more than 6,000 gas stations. So it was a big deal working there. And I became the CEO of that company. At the end of my career, I became the CEO of that company. And literally, I was in the pinnacle of my career. And that was in 2017. That was six years ago. And but as I said, I was struggling with the situation. The political situation was not going good in Venezuela. And this company, the owner, is a Venezuelan company. So for me, it was like I was like in a internal debate, and I talked to my wife and said, "Hey, I'm gonna get retired. I already had 35 years, so I flew to Venezuela to talk with my boss, and asked him to accept me to get retired." And after back and forward, he accepted to get retired, but he asked me some time to get me my replacement. So he told me that give me 4 months, and I came back. So we were talking around October 2017, and I went to, as I said, my retire mode. I was ready to get retired, and I was preparing to head to Thanksgiving, because now we are in November. And we were preparing to get to Thanksgiving, and I received an unexpected phone call to travel to Caracas to a meeting. And we flew to Caracas at the end of November 20, and the meeting was November 21 that year. And the meeting became to be a settlement, because by that time, the administration that was here in the US, that was the Trump administration, had been imposing sanctions to Venezuela. And these guys took the decision to take us as a ransom. So we were kidnapped. I and my 5 top executives, we were 6 guys, and they began to ask to release us, to get relief in the sanctions. And can you imagine 2 countries fighting, and we were in the middle of that dispute? So we became the political pawns of the situation.
Mhm.
And that situation was so high politics that lasted 5 years. We stayed 5 years in those negotiations. The Trump administration went out of office, came Biden, and Biden was who got our release through a prisoner swap. We came back in October 1st, 2022, 15 months ago, through a prisoner swap of the 2 nephews of the president of Venezuela. So that, long story short, that's my story. That has a lot of things inside, but this is a snapshot of how we became international hostage during 5 years.
Wow.
Wow, during that journey, share with us our view out there, because there's a lot of struggle going out there. During that journey, when you've been held as a hostage, what happened? How did you feel? How did you cope? What was the setting like?
This is very important, because this is exactly what because today I'm a leadership and resilience coach, because I discovered, because the journey was, it was 5 years. 5 years is a long journey. So at the beginning, we, of course, it's something that it blows your mind, because you will never, even in your worst nightmare, you never expect that something like this happened to you. In my case, in my particular case, I was a guy that have a wonderful career. I was ready to get retired. So this situation for me was asking God why he was doing that to me. So I didn't understand the situation. I really didn't understand it. At the beginning, even I thought that was a mistake that was going on there. Because when we were get to the situation, we were caught by the counterintelligence police of that country, and we were put in a solitary confinement in a 3-basement in a military base, and we stayed there 10 months, totally isolated, totally incommunicated, without no clue what was going in the world. By the way,
sorry, Jose, when was this?
That was in 2017.
Right. Okay.
November 21, 2017. You can Google it and you will find all over the news, because at the end, here in the US, this case was really very, very, very on top of the press, and because the press put us a name. They call us the Citgo 6, because we were 6 guys, and we worked for that company. So they put us like a brand. We became the Citgo 6. So every time they were talking about us, they were talking about the Citgo 6, because we became the negotiation between the US and Venezuela was related to us to get us released. So it was something totally absurd, but we got in the middle of the situation. And as I said, the first 10 months, I didn't know what was going on. So I literally lost the sense of time, because I was locked in a place during 10 months. So I realized that happened 10 months, because most of the thing that today I say is because I learned it after. When I was there, I didn't know what was going on. So I learned that since day one, our family and the other 5 family went to the US government, and they were working hand by hand with the US government. Well, by the way, my wife went 2 times to the White House and had, I don't know how much meeting with all the officers during the Trump and during the Biden administration, because this case was really, really high profile. And well, at 10 months, I got my first call. I got my first call, and that's when I learned that my family was, fighting hard for me, and they knew that I was alive, because as I said, we didn't have no communication. That resilience comes after that moment, when I could hear the voice of my wife, because that first 10 months, I really was hopeless. And at some point, I was having suicide thoughts, because I said, I'm gonna die here, because I was starving to death. I lost 100 pounds. I had a lot of disease. I suffered scabies, bronchitis, pneumonia. I suffered a heart attack. I went through a lot of situations. But when I heard the voice of my wife, that infused me hope. And after like 2 months after that, one day they opened the door again, and it was a UN commission that came to see us, because during those months, I didn't know, but now I know what happened. That the tension began to go so hard that the Venezuelan government took out the U.S. ambassador, so it was recalled. Can you imagine when ambassador is recalled, is because the things are going bad. So there was no direct communication between the two governments. So the U.S. government began to talk with the UN, and the UN who was leading the negotiations. So the UN flew to Caracas, and they saw us. They saw that we were really in bad shape. That was the first time that I heard about the other 5 guys, because I didn't know where they were. We were totally separated.
We were separated. I thought
no, we were
together.
separated. I didn't know even if they were alive, because so that was the first time that I heard that they already had talked with the other guys. So after some negotiations, they authorized us to put us together, and second, to begin to provide food and medicine by our families, because the situation in Venezuela that year, now we're in 2018, was going really bad, because the sanctions were really affecting the economy. So there was a lack of food, lack of medicine. There was a national blackout. So it was a very terrible situation where we were in the middle of that. So, but we were put together. When we were put together, was another infuse of hope, because now we saw ourselves, and we created like a bond, and we were 6 executives, all of us with 30 plus years career, and we did like a board. We sit at 6, and we said, okay, let's create a survivor plan, and we created a survivor plan that today, by the way, I converted in my coaching program.
So what plan did you get? Sorry, what was the survival plan that you wrote? Give us a couple of things from it.
Let me explain how we did it, because this is something that, by the way, I'm going to narrate this very extensively in my book, okay? We created a plan, a methodology, how to do things during the day to be busy all the day. So the first what we did was eating the breakfast. It looks simple, but we were 6. Picture this: we were living in a closet, because we were in a place that had 100 square feet. Was a closet, because it was locked without no windows. Okay, so we were literally living in a closet, 3 bulk bed. So very tiny place. So we were confined. So we decided, we had a small chair and a small table. We created a plan to eat each alone. When somebody was eating, was sitting down, the other were in the bed, the lights turned off, and you were eating in peace. You eat after so that took us hours, because it was one by one. After that, we had a cleaning process, because now we're in the pandemic. We were sanitizing the room every day. So everybody had a duty on a daily basis. So you, after eating, you rested, and then you clean. Then after cleaning, we begin to exercise. Was really funny because in that tiny space, we did yoga, we did push-up, we did cardios, we did static running. We were like 2 or 3 hours like a hamster doing things. After that, but that moment, the negotiation were going back and forward. They allow us to have books. We were reading. We began to read. And I took the decision to smuggle letters in the trash cans with my wife. And those letters went through, and I stayed doing that during 3 years. And that's the base I wrote my book. My book is based on my 1,000 letters that I smuggled with my wife during those 3 years. So I stayed doing that. And when I came back, my wife has compiled those letters, and they became like my memoirs. So after that, now we're in the afternoon. We was having fun. We began to play domino. And at the end of the night, we begin to read the Bible and to pray. So when we finished praying, was around 10, 11 p.m. And we did it on a daily basis during 4 years. We do it every day, and the days begin to run fast and fast and fast. And the days, because we didn't have time to think and nothing. And the time we were having fun, we were talking about our trips, our families, the enjoy moment, because something very interesting that we had, the 6 of us had long-term marriage. I have 37 years with my wife, okay? And the other guy has 30 years, 31 years, 32 years. So we were talking about families. We had wonderful families. And the way, I didn't mention it, when they in 2018 allowed us to have food, because in Venezuela there was no food, my eldest son, he quit. He flew and moved to Colombia, to Bogota, because Colombia is in the border of Venezuela. And he stayed 4 years providing me food. He stayed 4 years taking care of me. My son.
Wow.
My son. Did it during 4 years. 4 years. Huh?
How old was your son? How old was he?
John today has 37. He had at that time 31, and he has 2 kids. My 2 grandsons. They came back to the U.S. in January, because I was released in October. So he had to arrange, the apartment, the thing, and he came back in January. He's back here in the U.S. and my grandson now I enjoy them here in the U.S. again. So yeah, but my son stayed doing that during 4 years, because as I said, the case became so politics that the U.S. government asked each family to assign some family as a focal point. So my family decided John will be the focal point for all the negotiation. That even this story, I can tell you, blow my mind when I knew all what they did, because for example, the U.S. ambassador, when he was recalled, the U.S. sent the Venezuelan government to Colombia. So he was in Colombia. So my son was meeting with the U.S. government in person. They met a lot. So because the negotiation, as I said, we're in the top. And so when I came back, I got connected to the today what is the hostage community. By the way, there are 2 famous hostages in the UK. There is Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe and Anushia Shorty. That I know both. Because in September, Anushi was in a meeting here in New York with me, and Richard Ratcliffe was too. So I know these 2 guys, because now we are a big community of hostages all over the world, that we are like a family today. Yeah.
So is that to help other people that been held hostage? So we
are a community, because our family, during our situation, at some point, because as I said, the negotiation were taking care of the U.S. government, but our case was not unique, because here in the U.S., unfortunately, there are several cases in other countries. And there are people in Russia, in Iran, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Syria, whatever, Cuba. And when my family began to travel to Washington for those meetings, at some point they met the other families of other people in other countries. So they decided to do a common cause, and they created a campaign called the Bring Our Family Home campaign. So now my family was founder of one of the family founders of the Bring a Family Home campaign that has become here in the US. The Bring a Family Home campaign today is recognized by the US government as a valid institution that represents hosted family. And now it has becoming big, because there is a very famous case in the US that is the case of Brittany Griner. She was a basketball player that was kept in Russia. She became part of the family, and she's kind of the image of the family, the campaign today. So this has become like a movement, and now there is a foundation called Hosted Aid Worldwide that they take care of the hosted all over the world. I'm connected today with them, and that's why I have been meeting hosted of other countries, hosted from UK, from Australia, from Philippines, from Belgium, France, all over the world.
Can I ask you?
a question?
So I just wanted to ask you, Jose, how was the treatment like with and the communication like with the captors? You know, was there regular communication? Was it
with the captors?
Yes.
Well, our situation evolved because the high political profile of our case always was being affected how the negotiations were going. So because there was a lot of back and forward in the negotiation, because the point was that at the beginning, the US government was asking too much for us. They were asking for us to lift the sanctions and to lift the oil embargo. Can you imagine that? They were asking that to release us, lift the oil embargo. So the US government was not going to do that, because there was a state decision, because the problem that happened with this type of things, this is called the hostage diplomacy, that today I talk about that. And I learned it when I came back, because I was not aware of this type of situation, because the problem with the hostage diplomacy is that this happened to people, regular people that normally are high profile people, president of a company or a NGO, or people, or a human rights advocate. Normally this is that type of person that get caught because they target this type of person, but regular people, and they use to leverage the negotiation, because this is what all these countries do. So it becomes really hard, because to take the decision to release, they had to do something, and that's something that parties, for example, here in the US, the Republicans and Democrats, to put together to take the decision. For example, we were swapped with two nephews that were here in a jail, convicted by drug trafficking. So the president gave to them a presidential pardon to release them. So that's something that gets a lot of scrutiny. So it's really hard. There was a group that was released recently from Iran, 5 guys that I know them too. And to release them, they had to unfreeze some funds that the Iranians had in a bank in South Korea. So there's a lot of scrutiny behind that. I know the case of Nazanin in UK. There was a lot of debate under that case. So these cases really become difficult to handle. So that's why today I really talk loudly about this, because this is something that is terrible. It's terrible for family. It's unimaginable, all the suffering of the family, the kids. And some families get totally devastated with this situation.
Yes. So how did your family? One question I needed to ask you. You said you and your other 5 colleagues, you began to read the Bible. Were you all kind of Christian? What happened there? What was
Well,
it?
let me tell you, that's a very good question. I was not a religious guy. I was born in a Catholic family, but I was not a religious guy. But when we went through the situation, people always say that when you are in university, you will go back to God. That is true. But we did it in a very, very positive way, because we decided to begin kind of doing Bible studies, because we were reading the Bible in a profound way, because we were guys with, kind of a knowledge. And so we begin to really understand the Bible and have debates about the Bible. And it was really today I'm very connected to my church. Now I can tell you now I'm a religious guy because I'm really connected to my church. I do a church service. We have a group called a Golden Heart that I'm part of it, and I'm very connected with my pastor today. So yeah, today I can tell you I am a religious guy, but that is after that experience.
So during those tough times, during that time, you kind of find your faith, because that's where you find your faith. Yes.
And that not only find your faith, it begins to infuse you hope. Because when you understand that God never abandoned you, that even in the hard moment he was with you there, that today I can clearly see it. Because we have a lot of episodes. For example, I'm here and I'm a miracle because I went through a lot of situations in a normal way. I had died, but I'm here. For some reason, I'm here. And it's because God, because of God, and because of the family. Because the other thing is that family. I remember that somebody told me the other day that when my family, my wife and my son was providing me food and medicine, it was not the food and the medicine. They was giving me a message that I'm gonna survive and I'm gonna come back. So that was giving me hope. So that is a message of hope.
Wow, that is so powerful. So just having the family, around, your son came around, so you begin to embrace the resilience of your journey. Tell us how that resilience and reading the Bible and your family and the fighting, how did that go? How did that impact your family?
Okay, this is very important. They're very important because you know how for me it has been a very interesting journey because, as I said, when I came back, I found that my wife has compiled the letters, and I decided to write my book that's going to be out in maybe 1 month. Okay, and it's in the publishing process, and I had to go back and sit down with her to because my letter were handwritten. Handwriting difficult to read. So, but she understood my letter and said she has transcribed it in Word. So we sit down and begin to frame it to put it as a book. And when I was reading those letters, I clearly saw how my process was going. So my first letter was really hopeless, and at the end, that in that way the letters were evolving, my hope was more and more and more. And at the end, I literally was coaching her because I was so sure that, yes, I was so sure that I was gonna come back. I was so convinced that even I did something kind of funny. I brought a small luggage and I put it in a corner, and I put some clothes, and I said it's gonna be there when I go back. And I came back with that luggage. I had that luggage. I came back with the luggage. That luggage for me was like the representation that I saw the luggage. I knew that I didn't know when, but
so
I was
why
sure.
was this faith? I'm so sorry. I mean, this is so powerful because you were acting in advance to say, I'm going to get the suitcase. I'm going to put my clothes in. At the beginning, everything was hopeless. Where did this faith came from? Because that is faith and belief straight away there. Where did it come from?
When we begin to understand that God was there, that He will not abandon us, and we understood, because what is the faith? The faith is the belief that the thing that you cannot see, correct? So
That's correct.
I didn't know when. Let me tell you, because the way the negotiation began to evolve is that 1 year after we came, now is Biden is in office. Biden assigned us a guy to a special presidential office of Hostile Affairs, the SPIHA office. That guy is an ambassador. He is the guy who released us. So he flew to Caracas 1 year before, 1 year, 1 year before. And he met with us 1 year before in December 2021. When we saw that guy, we had like 2 hours meeting with him. And he told us that he was having direct conversations. So now for the first time, the two governments were talking. And when I saw that, I said to me, I'm gone. And when he was saying goodbye, I said, his name is Roger Carson. I said, Roger, I'm gone. I don't know when, but I'm gone. That is the word of Winston Churchill, by the way. When he said in his speech, I don't know when we're gonna, but we already won the war. And you know why? Because the U.S. is gonna support us. So that's exactly what I said. I'm gonna, because I read the memoirs of Churchill there, by the way. The 10 books, I read it there.
Yeah,
So
you
I
had
know
time,
very
didn't
well.
you?
I know very of Churchill today. That is something that to me, I read so much being there that now I have read like 300 books there. So I didn't have nothing more to do.
Wow. But can you do us a favor? I want you, because this is so powerful, that the faith that you've developed to say, I'm going home. You know, you got your suitcase, you got it packed, you don't know when, but I'm going home. Can you speak to people out there regarding about being resilient? Maybe there's people going through their single fathers or men, all right, that are going through some tough times at the moment, as we all know the world, what's happening around there. Can you just directly speak to them regarding about resilience and the power of hope? Because we've seen how that works. We've said, sharing your story, we see how
Well,
it's working in
I can
life.
tell you very clear, and I say
Mm.
this in every time. Any adversity in life, you can survive it, but you need to have, you have to do several things that are so important. The first thing that you have to do, you have to be calm and focused. First thing, focus. When our situation happened at the beginning, I was not focused. I was thinking in my situation, poor of me, why this happened to me. But when I decided to shift my mindset and say, Jose, you now, because I began to be aware that what was going on, that was really a severe situation, because we understood that we were caught in the middle of that. So you're not going to solve this. So we decided to stay calm and focused. The time you dedicate to say why me, why this is happening to me, is your choice. How long you stay there, because it's natural that you deny it, because that is human nature. You know, a human nature always is that, because let me tell you, adversity never will announce when it comes. It will come, and when it comes, the first reaction, of course, will be denial. But the way you decide to move on is your choice. How long you stay there, because it depends on your positive mindset. If you have the mindset, you will move on. If you don't have a mindset, you will stuck on. So the third thing that anybody that's navigating any adversity has to look the circle of loved ones, whoever they are. If he's a divorced father, well, if you have kids, go to your kids. If you have friends, go to your friends. If you don't have nobody, go to your church. You know, but look, the circle of support. Never do this alone. In our case, when we discovered that our family was fighting hard for us, and that our friends were alive and we were put it together, we created like a bond. Let me tell you, we were always taking care that never nobody get down. If somebody went down, immediately the other 5 guys came to support them. So we created that the circle of support. And this is what you have to do in life. That is what you have to do in life. Take care of your physical and mental health. Even we were in that place, we were doing yoga, we were doing meditation, we were doing exercises, we were having fun, we were playing domino. And go back to your spirituality, because this is so key. Look your spirituality. For us, reading the Bible and praying, I slept in peace. When I went to the bed, I was in peace. I was in peace.
Can I ask, in a situation like that, you know, you're literally what, six of you together. What kind of sort of relationships develop between the guys, and what kind of do you discover about each other? Like, because I can imagine in those kind of scenarios, there's openness, transparency. You know, the guys, you're getting emotional all of that is coming to the surface. So there must have been, like, as well as this is a really traumatic situation, there must have been opportunities to share your life, to experience your pains and opportunities for healing. So to tell me a bit more about that.
I can tell you that today, the sisters have know we're open books. We know our life, everything, everything. And December, in December 22, we got the surprise that the mayor of Houston called to his office, and we were proclaimed by the city, and he proclaimed the single 6 day in December 19. So I have official day today here in Houston, and we saw us there with our families, and we were kind of wow, we have our own day now. I was joking with my son, saying I can become now a Batman, because Batman had the key of the city, so Bruce Wayne,
Oh, that's
yeah,
fantastic.
but we developed this bond. I cannot say sometimes we had sometimes serious argument, but always we were talking about it. We never let the situation evolve. So this is something that today I talk because all of these things you can replicate to your life and to your business. That sometimes the problem in the families or in a business is problem of communications, because you left the toothpaste in the wrong place, or I don't like how you do this, that, and you don't talk about it. And you don't talk about it, and at the end it evolves, and people get divorced because of that, for those simple things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. So this is lovely, because not one, it got to get you to know who you are as well, and also be open and trustworthy with the other group around you. And what I love about it, it's no matter what happened, when there was an argument, you all sat and talk about it.
Yes.
So that was a really strong relationship there.
We didn't have no choice, because
Yeah, just say.
we didn't have choice because we were in so tiny place. Can you imagine 6 guys having argument, not talking themselves? It would have become a nightmare. So if we had anything wrong, because at some point it happened, but we immediately talked. I remember one of my guys, sometimes he was kind of having angry episodes, and he was okay. And then I when he did that, I said, no, he's like that. And he came to me and said, hey, Jose, no, pardon me. He said, one day I told him, you know what? I had to love you, my friend, because I don't have nothing more to do. I had to love you, because the only way I can stand you is loving you. So really, really, you create bonds. You create bonds there.
Yeah. How does your relationship with your family look like now? As in, has it changed at all, or compared to how it was before you got there?
Changed, but let me tell you, the family gets so devastated. For example, in my case, my family was so involved that I have 3 sons. So my eldest son, as I said, he flew to Colombia, and literally he was taking care of me. My other son, my wife had a store. He stayed working with her, and my daughter was also supporting. When I came back, the 3 of them said that we're done. So because they had put their life in pause. So now, of course, we met, but they decided to move on in their life. So now everybody begin to rebuild their lives, because they had put their life in pause. This situation becomes so terrible for the families. And let me tell you, not only me, because now that I know the other families, the situation, we have talked about this. They put their life in pause, because they told me that, for example, they were invited to a party, they didn't go. A movie, a dinner. There's no more anniversaries. There no more birthday. Everything is gone, because they are not in a physical jail, but they becoming a emotional jail. So it's terrible, family. It really terrible.
So I can imagine that when the whole family comes together, what's the conversation like? Like if you have a family gathering.
Today we don't talk too much about this. Because as I said, they really decided to move on. I am more talking with my wife because one of the things, there are wonderful foundations that support the hosted here in the US. There is an organization called Hosted US that they give you physical and mental support. And I have a therapist every Thursday since I arrived, and she has become friend. By the way, we are like family today. But it's great because I had rediscovered many events that I went through in that moment or in my previous life that helped me survive this situation. So now I talk that with my wife because my wife is a super resilience. Because really what she did was something remarkable. She literally was taking care of me during all this time.
Wow. So now, what are you going to be doing? What's your plans? What's your steps? I know you're doing a lot of speaking, a lot of coaching. I've been watching your videos. Incredibly, very powerful, your story, So I've been watching that. So what's on the horizon for you now?
Well, as I said, I became a leadership and resilience coach because I did this long career in the oil and gas, and I did several leadership positions. So I had that skill. So what I did is I combined that with my survivor skills, and I created my coaching program, which is called Life Pills for a Survivor Guide. That is what I coach. And I am doing speaking too. And this year, the situation is coming more and more and more. And as I said, I wrote my book, and when I take my book out, maybe in 1 month, 2 months, I'm going to begin a book tour. So this is like kind of a new path in my life. And I'm having some conversation with some movie producer that is beginning to maybe I'm in the early stage of those conversations too.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah, what kind of advice would you give, sort of life advice to let's say young men or fathers, or that do you think they could really benefit from, or some in a way change their perspective?
Because people sometimes, when they're having any adversity, the adversity can be anything, any adversity, because your topic is about a marriage, and this is something that today is really serious. How people get divorced for stupid reasons sometimes. When you see why people get divorced, wow, you say, why this guy will get divorced? I have a situation that I decided not to talk when I see some friend that I have time that I don't see. I never ask for a wife because mostly they say we are divorced. We are divorced. So I tell my wife, well, we're like a Martian because we had 37 years. Okay, so anything in your life, think in a way that because sometimes you overthink the things. Okay, so try to think that situation is not the end of your life. You can really survive the situation. But if you are calm, if you are focusing in that situation, believe me that you will see the thing more clear. And sometimes the solution is you have it there, but you're not looking at it. So this is a recommendation that I give to anybody the young people. The young people sometimes in this new world. By the way, when I came back, I discovered that this is a post-pandemic world that I didn't recognize. For me, it was difficult to recognize this new world because I came like in a time machine. So when I came back and I saw that today's world, I was telling my wife, what happened here? The situation has changed so much. So that people sometimes are like hopeless for anything. The youth came hopeless. And I said, what happened here? I came from a generation that the people were more strong. That you were more resilient. By the way, this word resilient for me is new. This is a new word for me. For me, in my old-fashioned life, that was being strong. You are a strong guy.
Yeah.
But now people talk. The good thing that now that people talk about it, because in my age that people didn't talk about these things, but the people are more susceptible to the things. So sometimes for small things, you think that your life is not gonna go. So people really have to be more focused in the situation and try to see the things more clear. And if you see the things more clear, you will see that the solution you have it in front, and take care of the situation that you can control. This is another thing. Take care of the situation that you can control, because sometimes you are worried for things that you cannot control. Why are you gonna get worried? Why are you gonna get worried? Start with anger. Today are too much anger. The people are angry. So I don't know why the people are so angry. Here in the US, this is a big issue. You go to any public service, you have to be careful what you say. The people are angry. Why the people are so angry today? So for me, really, I'm still learning. I can tell you, I'm still learning this new post-pandemic world.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, no, you're absolutely 100% right. I mean, for what I've noticed as well, there's a huge energetic shift. Like people aren't just more angry, they're more emotional in general. The emotions have surfaced and they're coming out, and we're projecting out at people, and maybe this is one of the reasons the divorce rate is so high. And
well, remember that during the pandemic, the people were confined, and not everybody can handle the situation like we did. I can tell you, I told my guys that I'm so proud what we did, because really we could have done it in a different way. It could have become a nightmare, and it was not a nightmare. We really support each other, and when we came back, we I saw them in December with their family. All of them are okay. The only thing is that for some reason, some of them decided to go silent. I understand that. And one of my guys is today a marathon runner, so he's always running marathons. And I decided to talk. So everybody handled it in different ways.
beautiful.
Thank you so much to come and share with us. If people out there want to contact you, want to work with you, how could they reach out to you?
Yeah, I have my webpage. It's very easy, joseconnect.com. I'm very active also in LinkedIn. I'm very active in LinkedIn. I do audio rooms. I have the master classes. They can contact me in my webpage or in LinkedIn. There is my calendar. The people can contact me. I'm attending calls all the day long, and we can talk, because the good thing that today you can do things remotely. You can do it by Zoom. So yeah, they can contact me, and even for events, virtual events. I have been invited. By the way, I have done some good events in the UK with people in the UK. So I have some friends today there.
So you're going to come and visit the UK?
Just
virtually.
I can tell you, I'm still struggling to travel. I was invited to the Canadian government to do a speech there, and I have been struggling. I'm doing here in the US, so I'm maybe in the future, but today I prefer to do it virtual. I have an invitation to go to the UK, but I attend is virtual, because I have one of my a former hostel that is friend of me. He received a proclamation there in the UK, and he was in the airport. He has some issues, so he had like a 6-hour problem in the airport, because when you go through this situation,
wow,
because this is a political thing, so the way you get released is through a presidential pardon. So sometimes the paperwork it doesn't work so maybe you can have some issue in the airport. So I prefer not to go to that in this moment.
Okay, so it's not because you're afraid to travel, it's just because of the logistics and everything that goes into
Logistic, yeah, yeah. No, I'm not afraid. It's a matter of logistic, but I'm open. I'm open. It's at some moment, if I receive an invitation, I will consider.
All right.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for sharing. And we are truly, truly blessed today at the Father Talk Show, talking about hope, resilience, finding your faith, and also to work with the group and the support. Thank you so much. If you're a father out there that's going through so much, like Jose said, focus. All right. Focus where you are today. Don't ask the question, why me? Because that is the wrong question to ask anyway, because which means that you're not ready to to sort out the issue or the problem. And also he said, do the things that you can do, change the things that you can change. Those things that you cannot change, he said, leave them alone. And I do agree with him 100%, So as a single father here today, we thank you so much. And do take care of yourself, because it's so important that you do. And what Jose, the tips he's given us, it's been amazing and it's wonderful. I'll say to you, my co-host, my king.
Yeah, Jose, absolutely loved listening to your story and your journey and how you went from a place of hopelessness to hope and faith, and then eventually you actually knew you were going to get released, and you knew it. And for me, that's amazing. And I think if you can, what people can take from that story is there is always that way, the way out.
I always say, never give up, never lose faith, never lose hope.
Yeah, and for the fathers that perhaps don't have access to the children, say the same thing. If you're prevented from seeing your children, again, never lose hope, because in my experience and from having talked to so many different people, there's always a way to heal, to get that, to reconnect, to communicate. That's the most important thing. So thank you so much, Jose. Margaret.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and amazing to all our viewers. Thank you so much for supporting us throughout, sharing and making comments. We truly appreciate you. We love you a lot. To all our viewers, thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Jose, we appreciate you. We thank you.
I have to leave because I have another meeting. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Oh, he's gone now. Wow, let me just stop the recording. Just stop Facebook.